But incredibly, Labor is threatening this agreement as it dances to the tune of its union bosses. But are we to believe that Labor is really convinced of its own dishonest assertions? Or is it being two-faced? You see, the Leader of the Opposition has form on free trade agreements, and it's relevant and revealing to understand his true attitude to free trade agreements. Now, the man that Labor wanted the Australian people to vote in as Prime Minister in 2004, one Mark Latham, apparently discussed the Australia-US free trade agreement with the union boss, the now Leader of the Opposition. And this is very instructive. Little Billy Shorten was in my ear about the free trade agreement, telling me the party has to support it. I said
the member for Wakefield.
I thought both he and his union were against it.
Member for Rankin.
To which Billy responded, "That's just for the members. We need to say that sort of thing." Listen. We need to say that sort of thing when they reckon their jobs are under threat.
I will not accept frivolous points of order. The member for Hotham.
I don't think it's frivolous at all.
What is the point of order?
Speaker, my point of order is on relevance. The question to the question
There's
was
no
about
point.
the
There's no point of order. The member for Hotham will resume her seat. Member for Hotham will resume her seat. The member for Hotham will resume her seat. The member for Hotham is warned. The minister will resume her seat. The member for Hotham will cease interjecting.
So, just to recap, this is the man that Labor wanted as Prime Minister of this country talking to, quote, little Billy Shorten. And
the Deputy Leader.
He says, great, the two faces of little Billy Shorten. Public Shorten against the free trade agreement, private Billy in favour of it. Political courage is not his long suit. Well, it's about time the Leader of the Opposition showed courage and supported jobs and supported the free trade agreement.
I call the member for Gorton.
Thanks very much, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister. Isn't it the case that Mr Dyson Heydon wouldn't have to sit in judgment—
Members on my right. Member for Gorton resume his seat. The members on my right will cease interjecting. The member for Gorton will ask his question.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister. Isn't it the case that Mr Dyson Heydon wouldn't have to sit in judgment of his own bias tomorrow if the Prime Minister finally stopped the chaos, showed some leadership and withdrew Mr Heydon's commission?
Minister for Foreign Affairs, I call the Prime Minister.
Well, again, Mr Speaker, I rise in this parliament to defend the professionalism and the impartiality of a distinguished Australian who was a distinguished judge of the New South Wales Court of Appeal appointed by the then Labor government,
member for
who was
Newcastle.
a distinguished judge of the High Court of Australia appointed by the then coalition government. He has given distinguished service to our country, and he continues to give distinguished service to our country, exposing the rorts, the rackets and the rip-offs that have been covered up for too long inside the Australian trade union movement. And sadly, this question from the Shadow Minister shows yet again that members opposite are not interested in Australian jobs. They're only interested in protecting dodgy union officials and appeasing the Greens. Not interested in Australian jobs, only interested in protecting dodgy union officials and appeasing the Greens. Now, there's been some overnight statements, and I don't want to unduly detain the House by repeating things that I've said to the House before. But let me read from the President of the Law Society of New South Wales. The Society is concerned at the personal attacks made on Justice Dyson Heydon. Dyson Heydon is an eminent former judicial officer and a current commissioner and is well respected in the community. The President of the Law Society of New South Wales goes on to say there are appropriate ways to deal with accusations of bias. They are through an application to the Commission or an appeal to the Federal Court of Australia. Now, Mr Speaker, members opposite, they know the rules. They know the appropriate way to deal with any problem that they might think exists with any presiding officer,
Member for Leichhardt.
and I say to members opposite, just for
Lingiaro,
once,
sorry.
do it the right way. Stop smearing a distinguished Australian and stop trying to cover up rorts, rackets and rip-offs. Stop running a protection racket for dodgy union officials.
I will not accept frivolous points of order. Member for Hotham.
I don't think it's frivolous
What
at
is
all.
the point of order?
Speaker, my point of order is on relevance. The question to the question was about the
There's no
China
point of
Australia
order.
Free
The
Trade
member for
Agreement.
Hotham will resume her
Excuse me,
seat.
Speaker.
Member for Hotham will resume her seat. The member for Hotham will resume her seat. The member for Hotham is warned. The minister will resume her seat. The member for Hotham will cease interjecting.
Just for
Lingiaro,
once,
sorry.
do it the right way.